the chatter going around, and a Dateline out of Milwaukee, a story developing here. If you were not following along, maybe you tuned out. I don't know how you could possibly do that, but the noise that rival teams, we're hearing that rival teams are, I love this, monitoring, I love the verbiage, they're monitoring Giannis Antetokounmpo and his status with the Bucks. Fear the deer. And, of course, this is all about one team, not the Lakers this time. It's about the Knickerbockers, that the Knicks, after they were exterminated, like the pests that they are from the playoffs by the Pacers, now it's like, well, the Knicks got to get a big star here. They're not good enough with just Jalen Brunson. So the media machine trying to speak it into existence that Giannis is in play here. The Knicks are said to be licking their chops. Man, get something to eat there. Regardless, the only way Milwaukee would even consider moving the Greek Freak is if he were to say, well, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like it. I suddenly have lost my taste for cheese curds, and I want out. And no more poutine. Can't have it. So let us discuss the question, what are the odds that Giannis Antetokounmpo requests a trade from the Bucks, that he says, I want out? So what are the odds on that? I've got Wonderland, Habitat for Humanity, and RKS. And we will combine all of these things together, and we're going to make a really comfortable chair. The kind of chair that you can fall into, that everyone needs to have, that kind, whether it's a sofa or a big lazy type chair there, where you just fall back into it, you're good to go. All right, so A, to answer the question, what are the odds that Giannis Antetokounmpo requests a Bucks trade? I'm going to turn on the Maller Sportsbook, which is never wrong. The Maller Sportsbook is never wrong about these things. So the odds are plus 2,500. Plus 2,500, which implies a less than 5% chance, in fact, a less than 4% chance that Giannis will say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. I want out. But there is a 100% chance that this is not the last time you and I hear about Giannis Antetokounmpo possibly leaving the Bucks in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months. I will guarantee that we will hear this story. It'll come back around like a boomerang or Halley's Comet, but on a more high volume, higher rotation, if you will. So if you look at the numbers on this, Antetokounmpo, he just signed a 3-year contract for $175 million. That's a lot of money, I think. Not for athletes, but for the rest of it. So $175 million extension with Milwaukee last October. So you do the math on that. He's under contract through the 2026-2027 season. And I was in Milwaukee a couple years ago, right after the Bucks had won the championship, a few months after they had won the championship. And Giannis was fawned over in Wisconsin. It was his wonderland, right? He's the boss and all that stuff, and it's his comfort zone. And the franchise, here's the most important part of this. And the reason I'm not really buying the Giannis trade rumors, I know they're going to keep popping up, is because the franchise met his ransom note. Giannis had a ransom note. He wanted them to get another star. He wasn't going to sign the contract. They got another star, and it didn't work out. Dame time was not ready for game time. Actually, Giannis was the one that wasn't ready, but Dame had a couple of big moments, but that's it. Not up to the standard. And he's also under contract for a couple more years. Now, that said, we do know in that business, players love to fraternize, and all it takes is a couple of people to get into the head of Giannis and brainwash the Greek Freak, right? Brainwash the Greek Freak, and then all of a sudden watch out. After all, we know the contracts are only a one-way street, that the player can have a 3-year contract or whatever, a 4-year contract. It doesn't matter. Whatever the time is, if they ruffle feathers, oh, man, they're out. And if they play poorly, maybe they get traded, but it's not a guarantee. But if they don't want to be where they're at, if you're a headline player in that business, then you just enter the transfer portal and get out of here. But it's not realistic at this moment. Now, things could change, but at this moment, not realistic for the Giannis. All right, now turning the page here. Speaking of the NBA as a whole and trades and transactions and star players not being happy, even though he has denied it after the Cadavers became the Cadavers and they were kicked out of the NBA playoff party by the Celtics there. Spider Mitchell, shake up in Ohio. Say what? Well, Spider is hanging in the balance. Now, we are told that the Cavs owner, who's made a lot of money with loans, Dan Gilbert would, quote, never trade Donovan Mitchell to the Lakers. Not that he wouldn't trade Donovan Mitchell, but he's not going to trade him to the Lakers. So that's the story. It's a pretty meaty story, right? Because this has been a rumor that's been going around for several months. So let's discuss. The Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, according to one supposedly plugged-in insider type with the Cavs, Dan Gilbert refusing to engage a Donovan Mitchell trade with the Lakers, believe it or not. So on this one, I am not agnostic. I am a true believer. I am right there with the gospel. I totally buy this. The Lakers have 2 strikes against them. And I've tried to explain this to some people that are in my circle, and they don't want to hear this. You don't know what you're talking about. They always get the guy. All right, so here are the 2 strikes, right? For Spider Mitchell to end up in L.A. The strike 1 is Dan Gilbert does not want to placate the guy that is trying to finagle his way to L.A. So that's strike 1. Spider, it's been pretty open around NBA circles. If I know about it and I'm doing the overnight show, I'm pretty sure it's an open secret that Spider Mitchell wants to play for the Lakers. So that's the first point, right? And he's the second point here. Cleveland's, I think, they're trying to win. They want to actually be good, and so they're looking for this thing called elite level players. And if you want elite talent, Mitchell being a centerpiece player, the Lakers roster, if you break it down piece by piece, is filled with habitat for humanity quality talent. It's just not there. There's not a lot there. Like, the Cavs are going to trade one of their top players, if not their most talented player, probably is, at least financially, and they're going to get Austin Reeves and Hachimura and guys like that. Come on. No, the Cavs could trade Donovan Mitchell to Miami, a team he'd also be willing to play for, and they could get back Tyler Hero. I'm not the biggest Tyler Hero fan, but he's better than Austin Reeves or any of these other stiffs that the Lakers would be trading. All right, last word here. Next stop, we go to Fantasyland. We are 36 days away from an event that you're not looking forward to and I'm not looking forward to, but we're going to talk about it anyway, the Midsummer NBA Draft. 36 days away, the college entry draft will go on. The most talked about player by far in the 2024 NBA Draft is Bronny James. Bronny James, the spawn of LeBron. Now, he was interviewed recently and said that it is tough. He used the T word, tough, being the son of LeBron in a pre-draft chat with some, I don't even know who he was talking to. I just saw the clip. Bronny James said, it's tough. A lot of criticism gets thrown my way. Boo-hoo-hoo. Boo-hoo-hoo. So do you have any empathy? Do you have any empathy for Bronny James having to live his life the son of a billionaire, LeBron? So, yeah, I'm going to shake my head no on this one. You can be on the Team Bronny if you want here. But as you psychoanalyze that comment, I do have a theory on life that everyone has a tough road to hoe in one way or another. But some roads you think are tough, and they're not that tough, right? Everyone thinks, well, I got a tough break here, tough break there. There's a lot of people who live their life like that. That's called victimhood. And people complain about this, that, and the other thing. But I look at Bronny James here, and that's absurd, especially considering he's speaking at an NBA draft-related workout. Bronny James, here's my psychoanalysis. He's suffering from RKS. Now, if you don't know what RKS is, bad job by you. That's rich kid syndrome. Bronny James, he needs medication here. He's overdosing on rich kid syndrome. Now, if you don't know what that is, rich kid syndrome is kind of obvious here. It's they're so rich, they're so wealthy, they're so pampered, they're so entitled that they're oblivious. They're oblivious to all that they have. They don't understand, right? And here's what you need to do. If you do the Pepsi challenge, you do a blind taste test side by side here. Take the name away. What if I told you there's a 6'1" backup guard who averaged less than 5 points a game, shot less than 37% from the floor for a sub-500 college basketball team, and that particular player is being considered for the NBA draft? You'd say, what? Does he have compromising photos? That's Bronny James. He averaged 4.8 points per game on 36.6% shooting on a USC team that was 3 games under 500. And the fact that he's even in the conversation for the NBA draft, the fact that his name is even being mentioned here, it's patently absurd. It is. It's all because of the fact that, and he's obtuse to this, there's some favors being called in, fatherly favors by Bronny. I've often pointed out my father was a ham radio operator. If he had been a big morning guy somewhere, I don't know that I'd be here. I'd probably be doing morning somewhere. But that's not the way it worked out. Bronny James' father happens to be a big name in the NBA, one of the biggest in this generation. And so, as a result, Bronny is getting a deep look by the NBA people. But LeBron's fingerprints are all over this. His guys, LeBron's guys, are feeding stories, in my opinion, to the useful idiots in the media who are then, and many of them seemingly are on the payroll for LeBron, and they just repeat the propaganda like the dummies that they are.